What you're about to hear are 3 true stories submitted by viewers who experienced something that changed how they see the world forever. These aren't urban legends or creepypastas. These are real encounters that happened to real people working the night shift. If you've ever worked alone at night, you'll understand why these stories are so terrifying. There's something about the darkness, the empty buildings, the silence. It makes you realize you're never truly alone. The first story comes from Marcus, a security guard in Denver. The second is from Sarah, a nurse working the graveyard shift. And the third comes from someone who asked me to change their name completely. They're still afraid. Let's begin. This first story was sent to me by Marcus from Denver, Colorado. Marcus worked as a security guard for a large office complex downtown, one of those 40-story buildings that house dozens of different companies. Marcus had been doing night security for about 3 years when this happened. He knew the building inside and out, every floor, every office, every corner where shadows like to gather. His routine was simple: patrol each floor every 2 hours, check the stairwells, make sure all doors were locked. It was a Tuesday night in March when everything changed. Marcus started his 2 a.m. patrol on the ground floor, working his way up. Floors 1 through 20 were clear. Just empty cubicles and conference rooms bathed in the green glow of emergency lighting. Nothing unusual. But when he reached the 21st floor, his flashlight started flickering. Not dying, just flickering in a pattern. 3 quick flashes, then darkness. Like Morse code, Marcus chalked it up to a dying battery and kept moving. The 21st floor housed a law firm. Pristine mahogany desks, expensive artwork, the kind of place that smelled like money and leather-bound books even at 2 a.m. That's when he heard it. Typing. The steady click-clack-click of someone working at a keyboard, coming from the corner office. The managing partner's office. Marcus's blood went cold. He checked the sign-in sheet. The building was empty except for him. He approached the office slowly, his keys jingling softly with each step. The typing stopped. Marcus peered through the frosted glass door. The office was dark, but he could see the faint outline of someone sitting at the desk. Perfectly still. "Hello?" Marcus called out. "Building security. You need to show me your access card." Silence. Marcus unlocked the door and pushed it open. His flashlight beam cut through the darkness and landed on an empty chair. But the computer was on. The screen glowed bright blue, showing a Word document. Marcus stepped closer to read what was typed. Marcus is alone on floor 21. Marcus is alone on floor 21. Marcus is alone on floor 21. Same sentence, repeated hundreds of times, filling the entire screen. Marcus's hands shook as he moved the mouse to close the document. But as soon as he touched the mouse, new words appeared. Marcus is not alone anymore. That's when Marcus heard breathing behind him. He spun around, flashlight cutting through the darkness. Nothing, just empty office space and the distant hum of fluorescent lights. But the breathing continued, slow, deliberate, like someone was standing right next to his ear. Marcus ran. He didn't stop running until he reached the security desk on the ground floor. He called his supervisor, his hands still shaking as he dialed. "I'm done," Marcus told him. "I quit. I'm leaving my keys at the desk and I'm never coming back." His supervisor tried to convince him to stay, asked what happened. Marcus just said, "Check the cameras for floor 21. Check them and you'll understand." The next morning, Marcus got a call. There were no cameras on floor 21. There never had been. But the building's IT department confirmed something strange. Someone had accessed the law firm's computer system at exactly 2:17 a.m. The login showed it was accessed from inside the building, from a computer that had been unplugged for 6 months. Marcus never worked security again. The second story comes from Sarah, a registered nurse at a hospital in Pennsylvania. Sarah had been working the night shift in the ICU for almost 5 years. If you've ever spent time in a hospital at night, you know it's a different world. Quieter, but somehow more intense. Life and death decisions happening in hushed tones. Sarah was used to the atmosphere. The constant beeping of monitors, the soft whispers of other nurses, the occasional emergency that would send everyone running. She was comfortable with the responsibility, comfortable with the darkness, until room 314. It was a Thursday night in October. Sarah was covering the ICU's East Wing, responsible for rooms 310 through 320. Most of the rooms were occupied. Heart surgery patients, car accident victims, elderly people fighting their final battles. Room 314 had been empty for 2 weeks. The previous patient, an elderly man named Robert, had passed away from complications after routine surgery. It was one of those unexpected deaths that shook the whole unit. He was supposed to be discharged the next day. Around 3 a.m., Sarah was making her rounds when she noticed something odd. The light was on in room 314. Not the overhead lights, those had to be turned on manually, but the small reading light above where the bed was positioned. It was glowing softly in the otherwise dark room. Sarah frowned. She'd checked that room earlier. The light was definitely off. She walked over and peeked inside. The room was empty, just like it should be, but the bed was made up like someone had been sleeping in it. The sheets were pulled back. The pillow had an indentation, like someone had just gotten up. Sarah stepped inside to turn off the light. That's when she heard it. The patient call button. Ding! The soft chime that meant someone needed assistance. Sarah looked at the nurse's station board. Room 314 was lit up red. Active call. But there was no one in the room. Sarah pressed the button to turn off the call light. It went out for exactly 3 seconds, then chimed again. Ding! This time, Sarah noticed something else. The heart monitor, which shouldn't have been connected to anything, was showing a rhythm, a steady, healthy heartbeat. Beep, beep, beep. What the hell? Sarah whispered. She checked the leads. They weren't connected to anything. The monitor was reading a heartbeat from thin air. Sarah unplugged the machine. The beeping stopped. 30 seconds later, it started again. Beep, beep, beep. The machine was unplugged, but somehow still detecting a heartbeat. Sarah ran to get the charge nurse, a woman named Janet who'd worked the night shift for 15 years. Janet had seen everything. She didn't scare easily, but when they walked back to room 314, Janet stopped dead in the doorway. "Sarah," she whispered, "look at the bed. The sheets were pulled all the way up, like someone was sleeping under them. The shape of a body was clearly visible, head on the pillow, arms at the sides. But when Sarah pulled back the sheet, there was nothing there." "We need to check the records," Janet said, her voice shaking slightly. "What was the name of the last patient in this room?" They looked it up. Robert Hendricks, age 73, died October 15th at 3:42 a.m. Sarah checked her watch. It was exactly 3:42 a.m. The call button chimed again. Ding! This time, when they looked at the nurse's station, the board showed not just a call from room 314, but a patient name, Robert Hendricks. The room was sealed the next morning. Officially, there was a maintenance issue. Unofficially, the night staff knew better. NSIX, months later, the room was reopened. On the first night, a new patient was admitted, a car accident victim who was expected to make a full recovery. At exactly 3:42 a.m., he flatlined. The nurses tried everything, but couldn't get him back. The official cause of death was listed as unexpected cardiac arrest. NBUT Sarah, who was working that night, swears she saw 2 figures in the bed when they were trying to resuscitate him. The patient and someone else. And room 314 hasn't been used for patients since then.